Thanks, Mr. Vernon. Shalom, shalom. Yisrael. This is Yehonatan Dawid with you here. Yahweh for Christians on what they call, what the date is, whatever it is, but on WFBR 1590 AM. This is Torah portion number 38, and that was All I Really Want Is Truth by Hebrew Connect. And we're going from, and we're rolling along. I'm telling you, we're rolling along. This is Korah, number 16:1 through 18:32 on the 10th of July, he told me. So this is deep. I'm going to have to go on to some other scriptures outside of this Torah portion, because I keep telling you how these Torah portions are going to help you better understand what you really like, and that is Daniel, Revelations, and all that things. I'm going to have to go into some of that today. We know last week we talked about how Yisrael sent out the Meraglim to recon the land, and they came back with a bad report. They didn't think that they think they could even really have the value of taking such beautiful land. They weren't righteous enough. They had to work on their righteousness, and they gave a bad report. And we see how Hosea and Caleb gave a good report. Hosea's name was changed to Yahushua, which means, now Hosea's name means salvation. Yahushua means Yah, he is salvation. Moshe, being the greatest prophet, maybe the greatest prophet of all time, especially when it comes to the Torah, foresaw this and changed his name. And we know that Yahweh said only came to save the lost sheep of Israel. So this is very fitting that these two men went out. We know they went out during this time of the year, in around late June, and we know that since they came back with a bad report, that we were sentenced to 40 years in the wilderness. We got one year that was already given to us, so we have 40 years in the wilderness, and then we had the command of the seats. Everything isn't for a reason. All these stories, all these narratives coming for a reason, because now Korah is going to come on the back of this. And we're going to see why it fits. All right? And right off the bat in number 16:1, and given the lineage of Korah, we see that it stops at Levi. Obviously, it goes all the way back to Jacob. But for some reason, it stopped at Levi. Why? Let's go to Genesis 49:5-6. So Genesis 49:5-6. And if you remember, when this is when Jacob was giving a prophetic blessing to his sons before he died. And he says, Shimeon and Levi are brothers, instruments of cruelty, are in their dwelling place. Let not my soul enter their council. Let not my honor be united to their assembly, because in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they hamstrung an ox. Now, you go, why would he give such a prophecy at the end on these two sons, these two great sons of his? Well, we're going to see how that comes into account now. Now, back in verse 4, he says, talking about Reuben, he says, he is unstable as water and will not excel, because you went up to your father's bed, then you defiled it. He went up to my couch. See, so now what do we have? Fast forward to this Torah portion. Who lined up with Korah but the sons of Reuben? Okay, so you have these two coming together, and Jacob, being one of the greatest prophets of all time, definitely and the greatest genetic prophet in terms of understanding the genetics of the covenant, foresaw this. Now let's go to today's Torah portion. Go to verse 3 of chapter 16 of Bamidbar, Numbers, and in verse 3 it reads, Then gathered together against Moses and Moshe and Aaron, and said to them, You take too much upon yourselves, because all the congregation is Kodesh, every one of them, and Yahweh is among them. Why then do you exalt yourself above the assembly of Yahweh? So you think Jacob didn't see that? He said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to join in with that. Don't have my spirit join in with that, because he knew that these men who came from his sons would do this. So we see that Korah is posturing himself against Moshe and Aaron. Now what I want to do is do some reading. We know that if you have access to my first book, Yahweh for Christians, I Am Original Words, Original Truth, I talk about how we got our Bible today. There's a portion there where I go into detail, line by line, dot by dot, of how we got to where we are today. So we only have a small fraction in our Bible of the narrative that Yahweh had revealed to us. So I'm going to go outside of that a little bit and go into some of what I'll say, just give us some backdrop on this. Now, Korah is not just like the spies. Remember, we just is coming after the spies. The Meraglim were the elect, the elite of the elite who went out. Moshe chose Yahweh's finest. He didn't choose regular old men like you and me. So these were elect. So too is Korah. Korah remember, he's a Levite. He was waved by Moshe before Yahweh. He was shaved, bald, and clean, all his hair shaved off like all the rest of them. And he was given as a wave offering and a heave offering. This man was anointed and blessed and approved of, given a stamp of approval by Yahweh himself. So we're not talking about some regular Joe Blow here. So we see, and not only is he's so righteous, and he was also a prophet, he started smelling himself. You know, when we file up the place and it doesn't stink to us because it's our stuff. And I guess he saw himself above what he was. This man's sons were righteous. His sons was Aser, Elkanah, and Abisel. Now, in Exodus 6:24, we're given the list of his sons. These were 3 righteous sons. And from them, we know we get their sons, and their sons wrote a big portion of the Psalms. The songs of Korah, his sons. And their sons, I'm going to read 2 of them, some of the most righteous, 29%. And I did the math on this. 29% of the Psalms come from the Korathites. And I got, I think, 11 of them here, or 13 of them here listed here. Psalm 42, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 84, 85, 87, and 88 are among them. I want to read 2 of them because they're so deep and powerful. But through Korah's lineage, we eventually get Samuel. Samuel came from his second son, Elkanah. You can go to 1 Chronicles 6:22-27. 1 Chronicles 6:22-27 to see how Samuel comes from out of the line of Korah. So when Korah was given his judgment, his sons, now you go to Numbers 26 and 11, you see that his sons was not killed. They were already grown by this time, had their own houses, did not unite with their father. So his line was not ended. Though he perished, we know how the story goes, he perishes. His 3 sons, Aser, Elkanah, and Abiasaph, you go to Numbers 26:11, you see they were not destroyed. All right, they were not destroyed. So they're so righteous, they end up, their lineage ends up writing a lot of the Psalms. The greatest, these are like the Messianic Psalms. These Psalms had deep prophetic meaning into the future. I can do any one of them and take a whole hour easily on them. I do want to read 2 of them. Let me read Psalm 47. These Psalms are so powerful that I even committed them to memory. These 2 anyway, the ones I want to read. Psalm 47, this is about Yahweh's sovereignty. Oh, clap your hands, all you people. Shout to Elohim the voice of triumph. For Yahweh Most High is awesome. He is a great king over all the earth. He will subdue the peoples under us and the nations under our feet. He will choose our inheritance for us, the excellence of Jacob, whom he loves. Selah. Think on that. The excellence of Jacob is who he's going to reserve. So that's the remnant. Elohim has gone out with a shout. Yahweh with the sound of a trumpet. Sing praise to Elohim. Sing praises. Sing praise to our King. Sing praises. Remember, one of their offices was to sing. These were great singers that came from Korah. For Elohim has gone out. Elohim is the king of all the earth. This is prophetic because he's not a king, never been a king of all the earth. This is talking about the millennial kingdom stuff. Sing praises with understanding, they say. This is not just emotional stuff. You're going to sing with wisdom and knowledge and understanding. Elohim reigns over the nations. Elohim sits on his Kodesh throne. The princes of the people have gathered together, the people of the mighty one of Abraham. Because the shields of the earth belong to Elohim, he is greatly exalted. This is a messianic psalm and delineates who is Yah's and who is not. This whole broadcast can be given just on that. How about Psalm 87? This is about Zion, the city of Elohim. His foundation is in the Kodesh mountains. Yahweh loves the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Yaakov. Glorious things are spoken of you, O city of Elohim. Selah. I will make mention of Rahab and Babylon to those who know me. Behold, O Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia, this one was born there. And of Zion it will be said, this one and that one were born in her. And the Most High himself will establish her. Yahweh will record when he registers the peoples, this one was born there. Selah. Both the singers and the players on instruments say, all my springs are in you. Remember, these are songs sung, not just somebody like me reading it. And this is talking about how Yahweh knows each one of his people. He has it written down. He has it written down and recorded not only your name, but where you were born and where you came from. This comes from the seed of Korah, who is the object of this Torah portion and his rebellion. Now, going into rabbinical literature, we see that Korah is represented as a possessor of extraordinary wealth. He is the one who discovered one of the treasuries of Yusuf that was hidden in Egypt. Now, Yusuf was upright and honest. He did not hold one shekel from Pharaoh during the time of famine. And he had huge storehouses. Well, Korah found one of them. Remember, Israel was allowed to go ahead and raid Mizraim before they left. While they were in darkness and couldn't see anything, they were given full rights and permission to go ahead and take what they wanted. And man, did he and his household take. And they found one of the treasures of Yusuf. So just the keys alone of the treasuries formed a load of 300 donkeys. 300 to carry just partial amounts of his stuff. See, Korah was at that time, was the richest man on earth. The richest man on earth. And so he saw how he should have a higher ranking. He should have had at her own seat, at least. So because of his greed and him reaching beyond what was given to him, and he just misunderstood his point. I mean, his lot with Yahweh. His riches that he had gotten didn't come from heaven. It came from his own wisdom and looking, searching out and finding. He found that. He knew where to go to look for it because he had wisdom. He was a prophet. He prophesied. He knew that Samuel was going to come out of his genes. That's why he thought that in this rebellion he would come through. Remember, he went on through with the whole thing of offering of incense and all that. He thought he was going to come through because he knew Shemuel was going to come through him. So if Shemuel comes through him, he knew he couldn't die. Well, that wasn't true. He did, in fact, die, as we know. It was his sons who didn't die. So we see that we have a man here who was wise and a prophet, but this man was so powerful. You know what? He was one of those waived by Moshe. He was one of the ones who carried the sacred implements of the ark itself. Nevertheless, like you said, he was smelling himself and not realizing the lot that was given him. Do not overreach beyond what Yahweh has given you. Be the best at what Yahweh has given you. Now, this is going to lead to, remember, let me go to Jude 8. Speaking about Korah here, let's go to Jude 8. Jude 8. And Jude, and I want to read, actually, I want to go, let me see where I'm going to go on this. Let's go 8 through 11. This is Yehuda, Yahweh's half brother, all right, Yehuda, in the Bible is called Jude, talking about false teachers, all right. Let's start from verse 8 and go down to 11. Likewise, also, these dreamers, he calls them, defile the flesh, reject authority, and speak evil against dignitaries. That will be Korah. Yet Michael, the archangel, in contending with the devil, when he disputed about the body of Moshe, dared not bring against him a reviling accusation, but said, Yahweh rebuke you. So anytime Gabriel did not even blast the devil himself, who was Korah to go against Moshe? Who are you and me to go against the leadership? Who are you and me to speak against our brother? Who are we? Do not join in somebody like that. But these speak, talking about these false teachers now, but these speak evil of whatever they do not know. And whatever they know, naturally, like brute beasts, in these things they corrupt themselves. So here they're speaking of things, they don't understand the truth. They connect the dots as their wisdom see it, not understanding the bigger picture beyond themselves. Okay, this is what false teachers do. They see, they have wisdom, they have knowledge, but even what they have knowledge of, they handle it like brute beasts, Yehuda says. And then they take these things and they corrupt it to themselves. Verse 11, woe to them. Now when the Ruach HaKodesh says woe, you better listen. Woe to them, because they have gone in the way of Cain. We know what he did, how he had self-righteousness with his offering. So it started from the beginning. They have run greedily in the error of Balaam. We know Balaam tried to curse Israel for the love of money. He was also a prophet, a great prophet, so great that whatever he said, it would happen, which is why Yahweh wouldn't let him say the words of cursing out of his mouth, because then he would have to do it. That's how powerful of a prophet Balaam was. We're not talking about prophets who don't have power. Evil, demonic prophets do have power. We're going to talk about Balaam. I think it's the next Torah portion here, or the one after that. It's coming up. Because, and then he says, have ruined greedily in the error of Balaam for profit, and perish in the rebellion of Korah. That's three. That's a bad lineup. Cain, Balaam, and Korah. That's a bad lineup. You don't want to be in that lineup. You don't want to be put in that list. And these were I mean, you're talking about prophets here. We're talking about Balaam and Korah, who had done great things. Now, in this revolt, like I said, Korah saw himself, and his name means baldness and ice. Now we know, I don't know what his original name was, but apparently it was changed to Korah because after this incident. But we know that he was shaved completely bald, like all the Levites, because this was part of the vow, and they were waved before Yahweh. Now, of course, just like Haman, going back to the tent, going back home and running his mouth to his wife, and listening to the wife, a bad wife, he listened to her, who was envious of her husband's position under Moshe and under Aaron. And he took into that, and he fed into that. And he always gave her a report on whatever the lessons were that day. So he said, well, today, she asked, what did he teach you that day? He told us about the Tehillits. Remember, we talked about that last week. In your fringes, 4 corners are supposed to have a single strand of the blue strand from that special creature from the sea. It represents heaven and earth. And Yahweh is our creator of heaven and earth. We're supposed to remember that Yahweh is our creator. He created us, not we ourselves. We're supposed to, this is because we had a propensity to idolatry. So what did we Yahweh do? Okay, give us another commandment. Of course, we broke that. So she said, his wife, this is Korah, said, you what? Does a Tehillit make entirely of Tehillik need fringes? So she's saying, I can make you a whole clothing of Talit. Or actually a whole clothing of Tehillit, which is the single blue strand of the Talit. So that way, your whole body is righteous. You don't need to have the 4 strands. Your whole body is going to be made of Tehillit. So you're like, So Korah went to Moses. Hey, listen, if the whole body is made of Tehillit, do they still need a single strand of Tehillit? Because the whole Talit is Tehillit. Moshe say yes. And then he went through a whole series of other questions. See, I'm not going to go into that. But a whole series of antagonizing questions he sent before to Moses, just like Yahweh Shua was questioned by the scribes and Pharisees the same way. Back and forth, he did the same thing to Moshe. And for the reason of uplifting himself in self-righteousness. He says, all the people are righteous, they don't really need you. What really was, he wanted Aaron's position. Then he wouldn't mind following those rules, but he didn't like his position. That's what really was going on in his heart. I'm going to read one of his parables about how he saw that Moshe was making up his own rules that could not be kept and that was suited only Moshe. Here's just one of his Korah's parables. Korah incited all the peoples against Moshe, arguing that it is impossible to endure the laws of Moses had instructed. He told them of the following parable. A widow, the mother of 2 young daughters, had a field. When she came to plow it, Moses told her not to plow it with an ox and an ass together. When she came to sow it, Moses told her not to sow it with mingled seed. At the time of harvest, she had to leave unreaped the parts of the field prescribed by the law, while from the harvest grain she had to give the priest a share due to him. The woman sold the field and with the proceeds bought 2 sheep. But the firstborn of these sheep she was obliged to give to Aharon the priest, and at the time of sharing he was required the first of the fleece also. The widow said, I cannot bear this man's demands any longer. It would be better for me to slaughter the sheep and eat them. But Aharon came for the shoulder, the 2 cheeks, and the maw. The widow then vehemently cried out, if you persist in your demand, I declare them devoted to Yahweh. Aharon replied, in that case, the whole belongs to me. Whereupon he took away the meat, leaving the widow and her 2 daughters wholly unprovided for. See, he's showing how following all of these 613 that Moshe proposes leaves one with nothing. Remember, we're talking, this is a man who had 200 donkeys just to carry some of the largesse he got out of Egypt. Not all of it. The richest man on earth at that time, and a very wise man. With those 3 sons who end up birthing sons that end up writing 29%, based on my calculation, of the Psalms. So now we have a wise man saying that following these laws will put one in poverty. This makes me think about the rich young ruler who came to Yahweh and said, hey, I kept the 613. What else do I need to do? I kept 613. Yahweh says, you know what? Okay, you did. Well done. He didn't say it was not good to keep the 613. That was a good thing, keeping the 613. He said, you lack one thing. And this is like talking to Korah. All right, good. All right, I like that parable, fine. You keep the whole 613, you lack one thing. Sell it all and follow me. Sell it all and follow me. And we know what the rich young ruler did. He turned away sorrowful because he had great Korah possessions. And it's sad in Yahweh's heart that he'd rather go ahead and keep the 613 and dress himself in complete blue, sky blue, heavenly blue, like the kingdom, in self-righteousness, instead of connecting the dots, not from these things on earth, but the widow, and saying, trying to get around losing everything of physical possessions, which means that our own right arm saves us, that we are our provider. There's no such thing as Yahweh Yeri. Yahweh provides. And that's what this Torah portion really is showing you. You're not connecting the dots. You keep the 613, fine. Sell everything you got and follow me. He did not do that. He didn't do it. The rich young ruler didn't do it, and Korah definitely was not going to sell what he had and follow Yahweh Shua. Now, these 2 wives, remember there was a 3rd major player going up against Moshe, and that was On. On find out that he was only mentioned in the initial rebellion. After that, we don't find his name. But if we go to the sages, we find out that his wife is the one that saved his life. And she's the one that she got him drunk and kept him in a tent. So he fell asleep, so he missed the rebellion. Because she knew that, she told him before, she said, listen, it doesn't matter whether Moshe is right or whether Korah is right. You're not a high priest. So whomever wins, you're not going to move beyond where you are right now. So do not join in with this rebellion with Korah. And he said, well, you know what, you're right. But if I already aligned with them, I cannot now get out of it. She said, okay. So she got him drunk, had him fall, and when he fell asleep, she went out in front of the tent with her hair uncovered, which is an unseemly thing to be in front of a tent So a man's not going to come. When they came to get him, when the messengers came to get him to join the rebellion, they stopped because they saw his wife out in front of the tent, uncovered and being unseemingly. So they walked away. The next groups of messengers came, the same thing. They saw her out front of the tent, looking unseemingly. They left, walked away. This is what a man should. The man's not supposed to approach another man's wife, particularly when she's in an unseemly position. So they walked away. So this is what saved On's life. And he spent the rest of his life in repentance and humility because his life was saved by a wise wife. Juxtapose that with Korah, with the foolish wife, who says she's going to have her, not just have the techelet, 4 strands, 1 strand for each corner of the earth, which is what Moshe said to do based on what Yahweh told him, but have his whole body in techelet. Whole body adorned in blue. That means you are self-righteous. That takes you right to Revelation. Let's go to Revelation 17:4. Revelation 17:4. These 12 portions directly connect to what you love, which is the Great Harshar. You just want to read the New Testament. Revelation 17:4. The woman was arrayed, and this is talking about the whore in Babylon. Okay, the whore, the apostate believers, the apostate Hebrews. And I know your Bible says this is the apostate Christendom, but no, this is the wheat and the tares. This is something. Christendom does not look like the Hebrews. Okay, Hebrews keeping the love of the Torah do not look like the Christians. So this is not Christian. This is the Hebrews, apostate Hebrews. That's the whore. And when I'm going to shock you in a lot of things, because the whole way you're interpreting down Revelations, you're dividing them incorrectly. You divide them incorrectly. This whole book is a Hebrew history book. It ain't about other people's unless it directly connects to the Hebrew peoples. Yahweh does not go out of his way to talk about them unless it directly connects to them in some kind of way. So we see this woman. She's arrayed in purple, just like Korah's wife had him, and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of the abominations of the filthiness of her fornication. Looking beautiful. Korah and the 250 was adorned and dressed beautifully, and he had a feast for them all. And they ate, and then Aaron's sons came for their portion. They said, nope, that's Moses' law. Yahweh didn't give those laws. That came from Moshe, and we ain't giving y'all. Y'all ain't got nothing coming. That's what Korah said. Y'all ain't got nothing coming. But we see how they turned out. They are dressed in their own self-righteousness, which is how Hasatan, when he comes out of his 1,000-year imprisonment, is going to have the entire world dressed in their self-righteousness to take the kingdom, to think to take the kingdom, because they think that they are righteous. This happened way back in the beginning in the garden with Hasatan approaching Mother Hawa in these same jewels, in this same covering his nakedness in the jewels east of Eden. Self-righteousness. Self-righteousness. Let's go on. How about further down, Revelations 19 and 8. Revelations 19 and 8. Talking about Torah portion number 38, Korah. Revelations 19 and 8. And this is the marriage of the Lamb. And contrast this with the Sadiq bride. And to her it was granted to be arrayed in fine linen, clean and bright, because the fine linen is the righteousness acts of the Kadashim. Their righteous acts, their righteous works that lead to their salvation, Yahweh Shua. Linen, which is what the whole outside gate of the Mishkan, the tent of meeting, was all linen. Remember? We talked about that. I spent like a whole month talking about the tent of meeting, the tent of witness, the Mishkan, which you call the temple. White linen on the outside perimeter. White linen, something simple. I have on a linen shirt now, a white linen shirt. White linen is the righteousness, not the jewels of the earth, not self-righteousness, not trying to take Yahweh's position, but just the regular righteous works that speak to Yahweh Shua. Let's go to Matthew 25. Matthew 25. 14 to 30. So remember, now all the men 20 years old and up are upset because now they have been damned to die in the wilderness. That means they ain't got nothing coming. They're not getting into the kingdom because of siding with the spies that gave the bad report. That means they have been doomed to die in the wilderness. So how does that speak to Daniel and Revelations? How does that speak to today? Let's give you a parable here that we don't really quite get, and I'm going to give you some insight on it today. Matthew 25, 14 through 30. And it reads, this is the parable of the talents. For the kingdom of heaven, this is Yahweh Shua talking, for the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his own ability, and immediately he went on his journey. Now, he said he gave him to his own ability. Korah was given talents to his ability for his position as a Levite. He wasn't given talents according to Aharon's position as a chief Cohen, Reading on. Then he who had received 5 talents went and traded with them and made another 5 talents. And likewise, he who had received 2 gained 2 more also. But he who had received 1 went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. So we see, remember what the first commandment that came out of Yahweh's mouth to his creation. The very first words he said to them was this: be fruitful and multiply. That was it. That was a commandment. Be fruitful and multiply. That's the very first thing that came out of the Creator's mouth to his creation. To Adam, Mother Hawa, and to the animals, the beasts. Be fruitful and multiply. That was the commandment. So right here, those are these talents was told, be fruitful what I give you. Don't let me, what I gave you, you better be fruitful with it. What the one with the 1 talent did? He did what the 2 wicked men did of Judah's sons when they had put their seed into the ground. It's a sin to self-masturbate and put your seed into the ground. Yahweh had those 2 men killed, remember, for wasting their seed into the ground. You don't waste your seed. The seed is, you're supposed to be fruitful and multiply with your seed. You don't destroy the creation. That speaks against a lot of things out there that Christendom preaches for, such as homosexuality and all. You don't waste your seed. It is to be fruitful and multiply with your seed. That's why Yahweh had those 2 men killed for wasting their seed instead of impregnating their wife. So what did this man do with the 1 talent? He dug it and put his seed into the ground. We're not finished. So he hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. So he who had received the talents came and brought 5 other talents, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Look, I have gained 5 more talents besides them. See, he was fruitful. He was fruitful. His master said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your master. He also, who had received 2 talents, came and said, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Look, I have gained 2 more talents besides them. So, once again, he was fruitful. He was fruitful in what he was given. 2. He was not given 5. He was given 2. He was fruitful in his 2. His master said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your master. Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered. Now, do you understand that? Israel was poised, before they sent out the 12 spies, to go and take Kodesh Eretz, all right, the Holy Land. They was poised to go in and take it, a land that had beautiful land, fruits and food of plenty, Houses already there, mansions, huge. Remember, many of these men were giants. So how big do you think their houses were? And Israel was going to come and inherit all this without really doing much work. Yes, they had to take the land, they had to fight for it, but they did not have to build houses. They had not to dig cisterns. They didn't have to dig wells. They didn't have to do a whole lot of work of building a house. It was already there, done. So this man says, hey, Yahweh, this is how you do. You take stuff that's already there, reap what you have not sown, and all this stuff. He says, so I was afraid and went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, there is what you have, what is yours. In other words, hey, you gave this to me, I'm getting it right back to you. What? He has just violated the first commandment that came out of Yahweh's mouth. The very first. The first was to be fruitful, multiply. He violated and says, you know what? This is what you gave me, I'm getting it right back to you. I'm giving you what you gave to me. So how can you survive off that? You're giving an apple seed. Apple seed is perfect, but it's not complete. It's just there. You can eat it. You can eat apple seed, but you can't survive off of it. You'll do better by planting it, and with it, you grow a huge tree. You can do infinite with it, with infinite apples, with infinite seeds to be fruitful and populate the whole earth with one apple seed. But if you eat the one seed, you got nothing but death. Not being fruitful equals death. That's why Yahweh says, be fruitful and multiply. This man with his one talent was death. So he says, but the master answered and said to him, you wicked and lazy servant. You knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. And that's what Israel was poised to do, to take the Holy Land and reap what they have not sown and gather where they have not seeded. That's what they was supposed to do, but they didn't do it, following the 10 of the 12 spies. So you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received back my own with interest. Therefore take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. For everyone who has more he will be given, and he who has abundance, for him that will be given does not have, even that what he has will be taken away. Now you got a deeper understanding of this parable and how it relates, connecting the dots to what's going on with Korah and our disobedience and our faithlessness. Now more detail, I'm going to give you some more light on this thing about talents, because remember, they were destined to walk in the wilderness for the men at warring age, without getting to the land. That means they still had to go ahead and keep all these laws and still, live and eat and drink and procreate. They could be passive aggressive, right? Say, no, why should we do this? We're not going to get the land. Why should we enrich the land? Here's the answer to that. Go to 1 Corinthians 3, 11 through 15. 1 Corinthians 3. Okay, here's another one that I want to enlighten Yisrael on. 1 Corinthians 3, 11 through 15. And it reads, and this is Shaul talking about the foundation of Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. The foundation. He is the foundation of everything that we're supposed to do. Of all your gifts and ministries and all that you do. Your reason for breathing. We should be standing on Yahweh Shua. Here we go. Read the whole chapter, but I'm just going to read 11 through 15. For no other foundation can anyone lay than that which is laid, which is Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. That means he's the foundation. We don't stop nothing. We build off of him. He is the foundation, and we are his building. So we have to, brick by brick, line by line, precept upon precept, be built upon Yahweh Shua. If you're not built on him, you're built on sand. If you're built on Yahweh Shua, he is the rock, the solid rock, the cornerstone that the builders have rejected. Now, if anyone builds on this foundation with gold, see, the best you can build on the foundation of Yahweh Shua is gold. Silver, that's next, precious stones, wood, hay, straw. He gives the whole list of all the different talents and gifts we have that we can build on this, okay? He puts it in order, from highest to least. The highest is gold, the least is straw. Verse 13, each one's works will become clear, for the day, that's the day of Yahweh, Daniel Revelations, the day of Yahweh, the day will declare it, because it will be revealed by fire. It's going to be revealed by fire, okay? And the fire will test each one's work and what sort it is. If anyone's work which he has built on it endures, he will receive a reward. If anyone's works is burned, he will suffer loss, but he himself will be saved, yet so as through fire. So here we go, where we're going to talk about this in Revelation, talk about how the last days of persecution and all that. But it speaks to how persecution and enduring is going to reveal your character, reveal who you are, and reveal your works. Those who are married to Yahweh Shua have righteous works. They have the linen. Their works are righteous. Are you going to have straw or are you going to have gold? When gold is burned, it's just going to purify even more. It's not going to go away. Silver is not going to go away. It's going to be purified. Precious stones will just be purified. But straw will burn up. Straw is going to go away. It'll be nothing left. If you build on Yahweh Shua with straw, you're going to have nothing. You must build on Yahweh Shua. This ministry, Yahweh for Christians, Yahweh for Christians. That's what it's all about. It's not about anything else. I don't give a flip. I do care, but I'm not going to waste my time anymore talking about the political landscape and all this stuff that y'all going about today. Tomorrow you're talking about something different. You're being bounced around like puppets on a string, being told what's important one week and next week something else is important. I went through that line by line about how on social media you can tell what you're being told to teach because the agenda is given to you, and you like little dogs who follow whatever shiny thing comes from your face. You follow that. The next month you give it another thing. The next month another thing. And you're just bounced around. Not here. Not here. If you want to hear something different than Yahweh Shua, you need to go somewhere else. And most of you do. But you know what? Only a remnant's getting in. And let's talk about that. I'm going to read it this time. Ezekiel 20 and 38. I talked about it a lot. I'm going to read it today. Ezekiel 20:38, because you always want to say, 144,000 Hebrews and black and all that stuff. You'll stop it. Stop it. You're not getting in. Ezekiel 20:38. And I don't care what kind of t-shirt and hat and mug you drink from and wear about all this fist and black. Stop it. I will purge the rebels from among you. What does fire do? It purges. It's going to burn out the rebels. Burn them out. And those who transgress against me, I will bring them out of the country where they live. So you're going to bring us out of Misraim, bring us out of Babylon, bring us out of Egypt, bring us out of bondage, bring us out of slavery. That's what he's going to do, right? But guess what? But they will not enter the land Yisrael. You ain't getting in. You ain't getting in being a rebel, trying to be Korah, trying to be more than what you was told to be, more than what he gave you. If he gave you one talent, be happy and thankful he gave you a talent and invest in that talent. And be fruitful in that talent, which is the first commandment given. And make sure it's built on Yahweh Shua, not on anything else. Not on any other ministry. Because only Yahweh Shua is going to make it through the fire. Only Yahweh Shua. He says, you're not going to enter the land. Then, at that point, when you see your buttocks on the outside, not on the inside, then you will know that I am Yahweh. Now, if you read Ezekiel, and in my first book, I got a whole chapter dedicated on this book. He says the sovereign Yahweh over 200 something times. That one book alone equals more than all the other books combined about saying I am the sovereign Yahweh. Because what he's saying is, if you don't understand who Yahweh is in here at this time, when you're in Babylon, you're not going to understand his son when you're out of Babylon. And that is the connecting the dots right here. That's the wisdom. Hear the wisdom I just gave you here. Here, while you in Babylon, if you don't get the name of Yahweh, you ain't going to even know who Yahweh Shua is, his son. Because there's no salvation in Yahweh's name. You ain't getting to the kingdom in Yahweh's name. You're getting in through his son's name. Korah didn't get it. Dara and Batham didn't get it. Nadab and Abihu didn't get it. All the rebels did not get it. They did not get it. And they thinking they're going to just come out of the slavery and then they earn their way into the Holy Land. That they are Kodesh people. You're not Kodesh of yourself. It don't matter how many tzitzits you wear. I don't know no matter how circumcised you are. It doesn't matter how much lamb you eat and leave the pork alone. You can eat all the pork you want and still be saved if you didn't know about it. Not eating pork ain't gonna get you saved. There's a lot of people calling on the name of Jesus and eating pork going to be saved. A lot of them. There's going to be a lot of Hebrews wearing seats and eating lamb going to be lost. A lot of them. Because it ain't about the 613. It's about where your heart is with Yahweh Shua. Yahweh Shua. I am salvation. Yahweh, I am salvation. That's what it's about. And if it's not clicking now, it ain't going to click then. You can't get Yahweh's name. You're not going to... Who else is calling on Yahweh Shua? You're hearing it right here every week. That is the name. And that means, reason why I read 1 Corinthians 3, because even though those men was not going to get into the kingdom, they still were obligated with their one town to still procreate with their wives and make soldiers and men for the kingdom. So even though men such as my age, way north of 50, not going to go into I can march to Zion, not going to make it into Zion. That doesn't mean we're not saved. Does not mean that. It means you're working now to earn your crowns to do what? Not to lift you up, because you ain't jack. You ain't jack. Not without Yahweh. It's to lay those crowns at Yahweh Shua's feet. If you read the whole chapter there, you're going to learn that of 1 Corinthians. Our crowns are to lay at Yahweh Shua's feet. So in order to have crowns, you got to do righteous works to get crowns. It ain't about your works don't get you saved. Your works are for crowns to lay at Yahweh Shua's feet. I'm trying to, am I connecting the dots for you? I'm teaching the 613, but I'm teaching you the physicality of it for the spirituality of it. From the blood to the water, you keep them for your crowns, not for your salvation. Or you hear that anywhere else? You're hearing it here. You're keeping the 613 for your crowns, not your salvation. That's in 1 Corinthians 3. So even though they were doomed to die in the wilderness, they still were supposed to keep the commandments and be fruitful, multiply for the next generation. The 144,000 are going to be only virgin males, 19 and down, children and girls and mothers who have not died. That's what Yahweh Shua says, he who follows me is my mother and my brother and my sister. That's who the 144,000 consist of. Virgin males, virgin daughters, and women who are widows. That's what the 144,000, so the 144,000 is just going to be the virgin males, but it's going to be more than that because the women and the children are not counted. Remember, in the census, they don't count them, so it's going to be an unnumbered number. But the proper 104,000 is going to be virgin males. It's not going to be anything else but that. And that's here in the book. I read it to you. It's right here in the book. So you still need to be fruitful and do your job. And then you will be resurrected for your salvation. If you don't do that, you're going to be called a wicked and lazy and servant. That's what you're going to be called. Wicked. And you will be outside of the kingdom. Do righteous works. Do them for your crowns, not for your salvation. I hope we're getting that. Yahweh says to seek his face. In Ezekiel 8:5, I'm not going to go there today, but Ezekiel 8:5 says that talks about the image of jealousy. What was the image of jealousy? The image of jealousy that you're not getting in Daniel Revelations was the 613. Because Yahweh is jealous that you're going to try to keep that to be saved. And during the 1,000-year millennial reign, people are going to think they're righteous. They're going to have self-righteousness, think that they deserve to take the kingdom when it comes down. Because they've been righteous for 1,000 years, keeping the 613. You're not getting it. Yahweh says, seek my face. Seek my face. That's just to get you to me. That gets you to me. And to me, what is it? It is the mercy seat. Yahweh Shua sits on the mercy seat. It's his son. The commandments are mercy. Because by them you know how to live. And you know how to infect your purpose for breathing. So I hope we got that through. I want to move on because I see already, as always, run out of time. But in verse 40 of, I don't even know where, of our Torah portion, and I think we're on chapter 18. And then we go to, it says that no outsider is to take Aharon's position, okay? No outsider. In other words, if you're not Iberit, you cannot be any other nationality to be before Yahweh. Yahweh's people are Iberit. That doesn't mean other people can't get in. They need to get in where they fit in, which is stay in their right position. Their right position, everyone has their position. Like I said, do not overreach beyond what was given to you. Yahweh chose his people, a Hebrew people, melon-rich people, to stand before him to teach the rest of the world what he has to say out of his mouth. He never chose any other religion. He didn't choose the English people. He didn't choose the Spanish people. He did not choose the Chinese people. He did not choose the Russian people. That's not racist. Racism is not even a Hebrew word. That's a slave word. It's just what he chose. Now you go ahead and be like Korah and the rest of them, and be like Cain and have it your way. You go ahead and see if Burger King going to be in the kingdom. Have it your way. Do it the way you want it, and thinking you're going to get in. Think you're going to get in. He can't. He said, you come through a person looking like me, a Hebrew Yisraelite, for his word. But person, that means you give it in fear and trembling and humility and wisdom. Do you give this word? Get it. Get it. Now, even after that, Yisrael still didn't get it. Even after the ground opened up and swallowed Korah and all his hordes, well, the hordes, they were burned up. Korah was, the earth ate him up, he and his tent. But even if they didn't get it, the very next day, we ain't talking about the next year, 10 years, the very next day, the people rose up against Moshe. You killed Yahweh's people. These people were so righteous that they say, there's no way Yahweh did that. They blamed Moshe. They didn't have an intimate relationship with Yahweh. We still show time and time again not having an intimate relationship with Yahweh. We continually, in this narrative, keep calling on Moshe instead of going to Yahweh. Instead of going to Yahweh. And they blame Moshe. So 14,700. So really a total of 15,000 people died in the plague. And Aharon had to save them through what? The censer. And in here is another deep, I need to spend about a half hour talking about this, but I can't. I'm going to spend like 1 minute about how the priest was told to beat the censers down, and they had to use the censers to cover the ark, the golden ark, because they couldn't destroy them because they were dedicated to Yahweh. The most precious sacrifice, or the most precious ritual, was the censer sacrifice, because it had the censer. All that speaks to Yahweh Shua. But after the resurrection of Yahweh Shua, he offered himself as a wave offering and a heave offering. This is before Miriam found him at the Garden of Gethsemane. He was the censer. He was the censer. So this was special. So Yahweh couldn't have the censers of the 250 men destroyed, because that's speaking to his son. So they had to be beaten into a one piece, and he used it to cover the censer ark. So now as a testimony against the people of Yahweh Shua, against us, the ark was covered. It was covered. And we're going to see how that also goes into, in the future, we're going to talk about how Moshe had to cover the rod with the snake. So we got the ark covered with the censers, and then eventually we're going to have the rod covered. That's deep. From that point on, every year, 15,000 men of fighting age died. 15,000 a year from natural causes and other causes. So I'm going to have to rush through this a lot. We're going to have to, please, on your own, read these Torah portions as I give them to you. This is in Numbers 16:1 through 18:32. And if you want to go to the Haftorah portion, that's also, I suggest you go through that too. And that's in 1 Samuel 11:14 through 12:22. 1 Samuel 11:14 through 12:22. After this, we go into how the first fruits of everything goes to Yahweh. You don't give Yahweh your extras, your leftovers. Aharon gets the priesthood gets the first and best of everything. It talks about paying the tithes to the Levites and how the Levites pay tithes to the Kohanim. So it talks about that and how it's supposed to be the best of the best. And how we're supposed to do this with a wholeheartedness, not giving Yahweh what's left over. He gets the first of the animals, and this is what Korah was saying in his parable against Moshe. He didn't understand that this represents his son, Yahushua. They didn't understand this. What we're supposed to do is just do what thus saith Yahweh. When you're a child, you understand your mother saying wash your hands when you're 4 years old. You understand why you can't come from outside in the dirt and the mud and just go eat. You don't understand that. You don't know what germs, even she tells you where germs are and explains, you don't understand it. But if you're just supposed to be obedient and wash your hands, you understand how germs can go into the body and how it works in the cells and how it can destroy healthy cells. And that's too deep for your child. Just shut up and wash your hands. Y'all ain't gonna go and explain everything to you. We ain't gonna get nowhere. You be seized with movement. You can't move. You gotta go and explain everything to you. Okay, well, this is why you gotta have the ruddy heifer. And this is why it has to be pure, not 2 white hairs can be on it. You just gotta explain that. Why can't you just shut up and do it? That's what Moshe did. You understand it later. We understand it in the brick how the shower when Yahushua comes and heals all the people, how it also represented him as the healer. So it's not about us understanding everything. You obey now, you can understand later. That's the way it's supposed to work. If you understand earlier, fine, good. All well and dandy. But stop demanding Yahweh to go and explain everything to you. Who are you? You go and explain something to a 5-year-old child, 10-year-old child was sexy and how they were made and how they were born. That's going to gas them out. And what? They didn't understand anyway. Just keep your jaws on. That's what it just, hey, you don't mess with that boy over there. You don't have to explain nothing. Don't run out in the street. You ain't got to explain nothing. Just do what thus saith your mother and your father. And the same thing we're here. Do what thus saith Yahweh HaMashiach HaMashiach. Next week, and of course I didn't finish that, but Torah portion number 39, and we're going to talk about, let's see what we got here. 39, this is going to be beautiful because we're going to go into the ruddy heifer, and we're going to talk about Miriam's death and Aaron's death and Moses' sin for us. That's going to be called Hukach, decree, Numbers 19:1 through 22:1. Until next week, Yehonathon Del week you here. Shalom Aleichem, peace be on you. That's all bad. All I really want is truth. All I really want is truth. All I really want is truth.